Hi fluters, welcome back to the March Flute channel. I'm so sorry it has been a while. Christmas and New Year's kind of just got in the way, and at the moment I'm currently preparing for a concert tour in my hometown. But today I am back with another video talking through a couple of suggestions that I personally have in regards to upgrading your flute. Remember that this is just my personal advice, so if you are currently learning with a flute teacher, make sure that you consult with them so that they can give you some more specific suggestions that are tailored to your own personal circumstance. Everything I say today in this video can just be some additional information for you to consider. Let's get started. So if you are a complete beginner on the flute, it is best for you to start on a student model. Some parents will make the assumption that a more expensive and upgraded flute will help their child sound better. However, this is only true if they already know how to play the flute. Intermediate flutes often include features such as more keys, open holes, heavier weight, a build that uses more sterling silver, and all these features lead to certain changes in sound. Intermediate flutes can often help the student achieve a more supple and round sound, doesn't tarnish as much, and often have a bigger selection in terms of the lip plate design or some of the mechanism designs, such as a French pin design. Overall, the price points of the flute continues to go up because of the higher quality in build, and more parts of the flute become handmade rather than machine made. These features can help the student produce a more professional sound. However, it can make the experience of playing more challenging if the student doesn't already know the fundamentals. That's why I always say to parents that beginner flute students are much better off starting on beginner flutes, as student flutes are usually made from nickel silver, which mean that they have silver plating, so it lends to a lighter body, making it easier for the student to hold. The cheaper material used also mean that it's a lot more affordable than some of the intermediate flutes, and is usually a little bit more appropriate when you're not sure how long the student will continue to play the flute for. The material used to construct most student flutes are also usually a lot more free-blowing and not as resistant, so it gives the student a better time to be able to actually practice being able to make a sound consistently. Because the student flutes aren't that resistant, it does limit the type of tone, color changes, and dynamics that you can do on the flute. So for example, you may not be able to go from extremely loud to extremely soft on a student flute versus a more expensive upgraded flute. Beginner flutes often also feature closed hold indented keys that help the student with their finger placement. So that's it for beginner flutes. Now, at which point do you move on to an intermediate flute? For me, the answer is when you've been playing flute for a couple of years at least and are steadily progressing through either completing exams, so in Australia we have AMEB, or when you are beginning to play full-length pieces that are a little bit more challenging and require playing that is a lot more nuanced. There are plenty of different models of intermediate flutes, but the two main types are student intermediate flutes as well as semi-professional intermediate flutes. As you probably would have guessed, the student intermediate flutes are a little bit more affordable than the semi-professional flutes. For most students who are playing flute just for fun, you really don't need to ever upgrade from a student flute. It's just if they're looking to take their skill sets to the next level, and if they're financially okay to do so, upgrading to a student intermediate flute can help with that. For those who just want to play for fun as a hobby, a student intermediate flute or even a semi-professional flute can last quite a number of years if you take care of the instrument well. Technically speaking, you don't ever need to go further than a semi-professional or student intermediate flute if you're not planning on becoming a fully fledged professional performing flautist. You only really need to get a professional flute if you are planning on becoming a professional flute player in the future, i.e. you're currently studying flute at a tertiary level or plan on doing some professional performing. This is because professional flutes can get quite expensive upfront and with the upkeep, and so it is quite a large financial commitment to make. So it's definitely not worth buying a professional flute unless you have tons of cash lying around or you're committing to playing at an elite level long term. If you're looking to upgrade your flute, definitely trial some instruments before you make the purchase. There are just so many different models and brands out there that each individual one feels so different to play. So if you can just spend a day or two testing out all the different flutes, you can really make sure that you end up picking on the one that is right for you. In Australia, some of the bigger flute stores do actually travel interstate a few times during the year to do showrooms, so those events are some good opportunities to try out the flutes in person. Some stores will also offer the option for them to mail 2 to 3 flutes out to you to trial at once, but that's something you definitely need to get in contact with the store to arrange. Usually all the student flute models feel quite consistent to play. However, once you move into the more intermediate and professional makes, because the flutes or even just parts of the flutes are handmade, they can actually feel quite different in terms of response and feel, even if you are trying out 2 models that are supposedly the exact same. And that is why it is ideal for you to try out some flutes before purchasing. You can also search for secondhand flutes that are currently on sale on the market, and in Australia most flute players will do this through advertising through instrument stores or on Facebook groups. I only recommend that you go this route if you are an intermediate or advanced flute player who already knows your way around the instrument. I'd be a little bit careful if you are a complete beginner wanting to get a secondhand flute because you aren't really at the level where you can actually try out the instrument. I go through a few ways that you can get a flute in Australia, either new or secondhand, in a blog post, so I will definitely link that down below if you're interested to check that out. So those are my recommendations and thoughts that I have on knowing when to upgrade your flute. If you've made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. Happy fluting, and hopefully I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye bye.